Sara, Bria, 4:39 p.m. Sabbath day. I want to do Passover, the way to eternal life. So we start with Exodus 12, verse 1 to 14. So it says, the Passover and the festival of unleavened bread. The Passover is part of the festival of unleavened bread. It's Passover. Then it comes the Sabbath day after the Passover, and then the resurrection, or in the Old Testament, the first fruits. So we keep the unleavened bread as with Resurrection Day, and Passover is the day to come out of slavery. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in Egypt, this month is to be for you the first month of your year. Tell the whole community of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, each man is to take a lamb for his family, one for each household. If any household is too small for a whole lamb, they must share one with their nearest neighbor, having taken into account the number of people there are. You are to determine the amount of lamb needed in accordance with what each person will eat. The animals you choose must be a year-old male without defect, and may take them from the sheep or the goats. Take care of them until the 14th day of the month, when all the members of the community of Israel must slaughter them at twilight. Then this represents the Passover, the day that it's fulfilled when the lamb is slaughtered. Then they are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and tops of the door frames of the houses where they eat the lambs. So they were to put the blood of the lamb, the 1-year-old perfect lamb, no defect, on the sides and tops of the door frames in the Old Testament. That's saying that they're to eat meat roasted over the fire, along with bitter herbs and bread made without yeast. Do not eat it on the fire. Do not eat it meat raw or boiled in water, but roasted over a fire. With the head, legs, and internal organs, do not leave any of it till morning. If some is left till morning, you must burn it. This is how you are to eat it, with your cloak tucked into your belt, your sandals in your feet, and your staff in your hands. Eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. So they kept the Passover by putting the blood of the lamb on the sides and tops of the door frames. What happens? On that same night, I will pass through Egypt and strike down every firstborn of both people and animals, and bring judgment on all the gods of Israel. All the gods of Egypt, I am the Lord. The blood will be a sign for you on the houses where you are, and when I eat the blood, I will pass over you. No destructive plague will touch you when I strike Egypt. God passes over us when we keep the Passover for all generations. This is a day you are to commemorate for generations to come. You shall celebrate it as a festival to the Lord, a lasting ordinance. Then the Passover never is abolished as the devil did, but as we preach, we commemorate the day that God was sacrificed for us, and we keep the Passover. For the Egyptians were put the Israelites in slavery for 430 years. The Pharaoh refused to let the Israelites go, and Pharaoh inflicted the Israelites more severely. God was enraged and brought plagues upon the whole land of Egypt. The heart of Pharaoh became more hardened. God allowed this so he could judge Egypt. Then everything is according to God's plan. Then we go to John 6:53. Jesus said to them, very truly, or I tell you the truth in another version. Very truly is the truth. I tell you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. For my flesh is real food, and my blood is real drink. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood remains in me, and I in them. So then, when we keep the Passover by eating the bread and wine, which represents his flesh and blood, then we can have eternal life. Otherwise, we have eternal condemnation. All men are waiting to be judged. So, this is the reality. How can we eat his flesh and blood? Luke 22, verse 19. And he took bread, gave thanks, and broke it to them, saying, "This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, after the supper, he took the cup, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you." Then Jesus died for us, so we didn't have to have our judgment that we deserved. And he says, "Truly I give you eternal life, and I eagerly desire to save you and bring you out of the land of slavery." We were in spiritual slavery until we keep the Passover. Then we come out and we have life through faith in his promise. Please keep the Passover and be blessed. God bless you.